My focus is on young people, but my skill set is built for veterans, and I still work with them. But when you say niche, it's the kids. I am sitting here not a product of my successes. I'm sitting here as a product of my failures. All the demons and all the issues were now crowded in my head because I didn't have my escape, my drugs and alcohol. I took a job at an adolescent recovery facility, and I did not go there to help kids. Let's be honest. I went in for a personal, selfish reason and came out with a gift given to me by a generation of youth who taught me that I was a good man. This book tells the story of how you can transition and find your way out of being a kid to becoming an adult. That ritual of burning the clothes was powerful, dude. Shoes were everything, man. It was cool.
Welcome back to the Oliver Shearer Show with me, your host. And today we have something special, as always. Today's conversation is one that speaks straight to your heart. To parents, mentors, teachers, and honestly, to anyone who's ever struggled to find their own way back home to themselves, to this meat piece. My guest for the second time is Tom LaGrave. He is an incredible being with lots of wisdom, passion, and heart. Tom has lived through shadows, breakthroughs, and a lifetime of learning what it really means to grow not just into adulthood, but into himself. From his years as a Navy SEALs to losing everything through addiction, and then to rebuild his life by walking beside young people. Tom's journey is a powerful reminder that growth is not just a straight line. It is filled with lots of different rites of passages. Here's my heartfelt conversation with Tom LaGrave. Enjoy. And there we go. This is episode number 2, part number 2 with Tom LaGrave. I hope I said that right.
Absolutely perfect.
Junior, I saw on some places. And I just come from re-listening to our first episode editing. That was about 10 days ago. We were having a 1-hour episode because of commitments on Tom's side. And we basically made a teaser on who is Tom, where does he come from, his childhood upbringing, alcoholistic family, a sister which needs extra care, the compassion, empathy, military, and the whole breakdown of being a medical in the SEALs, going around with big M60. Unfortunately, Tom cannot deliver us with a picture of him holding an M60 in his arms. That's kind of like Schwarzenegger's, 80s movie? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was, what was it? It was Predator.
Yeah, Predator was with the gun, but he was doing some other ones where he's like big.
True Lies.
Yeah, he was in his 50s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or late 40s. So he was not as big. So I just visualized Tom like that. Just probably do some AI pictures, take Tom's face and put it on Schwarzenegger. So you have something for the visuals.
There you go.
There we go. You said you were pretty buff and well trained because you did a lot of sports before you entered military. Military ended abruptly, according to what we talked, after 9 years and some months, due to marijuana, drug abuse. The alcohol was not an issue. It brought you to a rite of passage because now you were back in the civil world at the age of 28, 9. And you had to relearn to be a civilian. Sorry, I'm Swiss, trying to speak English. And you came into helping youth between 13 and 21, which helped you to go back into your own upbringing, relearn, revisit your past, together with the AA 12-step to kind of transmute those energies and be sober for 32 years until some 100% HTC marijuana found the way to you. 3 week suicidal period.
Yeah.
But we talk about all this. I try to summarize it for the people which have not listened. And some spiritual awakenings, kind of, or some law of attractions. We didn't go deep in that, but you made it to the other side. And what we want to talk today about is definitely the two books, Rite of Passage, and you just told me the Honor Bound Academy is kind of close to move more into public speaking or professional speaking. So let's try to talk about these things, go a little bit into the spiritual path. Let's see how far we go. If we have a part 3, who knows? Yeah. So welcome back, Thomas.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be back. I enjoyed the last time. I'm looking forward to this time.
Yes, and now we don't have an American flag, but I brought the Swiss flag.
Good.
And I realized when we talked about your travels through Europe, you said you didn't make it all the way to north. And I realized you probably thought of me being in Denmark, and then the Swissness got confused.
Because you know what? The fact is I've been to Switzerland. Is it Davos?
Yes, actually, Davos is in Switzerland. That's between Austria, Switzerland, and Italy. It's in that corner.
So we took a bus ride from northern Italy up into Switzerland, Germany, and came back down. And so, yeah, I've been to Switzerland, and it was most enjoyable.
So we solved that one for the ones that listened to the first episode. So let's go into the first point here is the two books. You wrote 2 books. I'm not really up to speed anymore what the books were about, both. And when you wrote the first book and the second book.
Yeah. So the first book was I had taken a job as a government contractor working with active duty personnel and their families. And I was sent on assignment to Djibouti, the Horn of Africa. And I was there for 4 months, and it was a restricted base. You couldn't go off because of safety concerns. And I had always wanted to write a book. And for some reason, that I wanted to remember by writing, journaling, the experience I was having. Incredible. You know, it was like in the morning, it would be the wind coming off of the Indian Ocean, wet, just incredible heat. And in the evening, it was coming off the Sahara Desert, and it was a dry heat. And anytime you get put into an environment that is vastly different from any that you've ever experienced, it opens up. And so I thought, let's write. And so I told a story that from beginning to end in that 4-month period, and it's called For Whom the Bell Tolls. The bell tolls for thee. I'm playing it on those words. And it was my life story from birth to that moment where I was sitting in a box in the Horn of Africa doing clinical therapy with active duty personnel in just an amazing environment. And so it was just an ode to all the experiences that I had in my life, and how did I end up in or on the Horn of Africa, because I got to travel to Ethiopia and to Kenya, saw the Great Rift Valley. And so those are the storylines and the driving factors of just telling my life story. So it was a conversation. Soliloquy is me talking to me. And when you write it into a book, you are reading yourself. It's in that context. So that was the first book.
Okay. And how old were you back then?
I was 58.
Okay, so it's not that long ago, because you're 65 still, right? You didn't turn 66 since we talked.
No, yesterday was my birthday. I'm 66 now. Yeah.
Seriously? Okay. Yeah. I could not have planned that out. So, no, you're not 65, you're 66. So,
yes, I am.
First episode, you were 65, but...
Yes, I was.
Oh, my goodness. You're in an age where it doesn't really matter that much. If you would be like 12, 13 as my daughter, like 2 weeks before she turns 14, like, you're 14. No, Dad, I'm not 14.
Yeah, I'm 13 in 8 months and 24 minutes. And
yeah. I don't know when it changed for me, somewhere around 18 to 20, I think. It's I'm still closer to 47 than to 48. But yeah, so you turned... So happy birthday, by the way. And I don't know when this episode comes out, so it might be a week ago or a month. So all depending on...
I'll still be 66, and the first part, I'll be 65.
Okay, up to 58. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's interesting. And you said you always wanted to write a book, and the urge being there, trapped in this place, you couldn't go out
Environment. Yep.
environment, it pushed something. And for how long did you want to write about your life? Or did you want to write about something else before?
No, it was, I wanted to write a book. I had tried writing a book. At the time, I was 38 years old, and I succeeded. And what it was is, it was how I learned to write, because writing is not as simple as sitting down and taking a pen and creating. I ended up getting a lady that was editing my books. I gave her 500 pages and she edited me down to probably 275 pages. And every time I sent her a portion, and when she sent it back, I looked at how she corrected my words so that I could learn how to better write. So that initial book, you know what? I've got it in my room. It's only one copy, and it's really a hard read because you don't know who's talking. Is it first person, second person? Is it third person? I had to learn how to write. So having done that, we're 20 years now in the future, I wanted to write again. And now the opportunity felt right. And that's what brought out the book, The Bell Tolls for Thee.
Okay, so at 38, you actually finished a book of 500 pages, and that was going down to 200. And you say this 200 somewhat page book is like jumping between first and second and third person.
Yeah. And again, when you're reading it, you're like, who the hell's talking in this thing? I had characters and I had, other people, and it was a mess, but the mess turned into learning how to. And when we wrote The Bell Tolls for Thee, I wrote it in 4 months, and the editor probably pulled out, it was 125 pages. I think they might have edited a total of 3 or 4 pages, because I had learned how to write. Go ahead.
So in the 20 years from 38 to 58, you were writing more journals, or what did you do to practice?
I have always journaled, always. Again, that story with my addiction, I started then 38, 39, 40 years ago. And because when I write, those words trap the emotions that I was feeling. And when I reread it, it takes me back to the place, but more importantly, it takes me to the emotion. And that's where 5.5 years ago, I relapsed because I stopped reading. I stopped following. I stopped thinking that I had arrived, and it caught up with me. And again, 2 weeks of suicidal ideation and a horrible experience. But let's not get too far afield. So
we did that last time as well, going left and right.
Yeah.
So that means you say around 48. So that you started journaling then in the military to get down emotions.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I had a mother. I told you about the story. The family's alcoholic, but we loved each other. My mother was a voracious reader. My front room, she had, it was a library, ceiling to floor bookshelves. And she could never get us to read from the time we lived in her house. I have since become that voracious reader like she was. But the story was that I was in my military career. BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, is a 6-month program. There's 3 phases. Each phase is 2 months. So I started in, August 27th, 1979, finishing in February 29th, 1980. But in there, at Christmas, I had done 2 phases and then went home on a break and came back for 3rd phase. And it was then that my mother said, you got to write this down. And I'm like, I ain't writing nothing down. She said, look, just write a sentence every night, just 1 sentence. And so I have a journal memory for the 3rd phase of my experience at Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training that is awesome. Because I could share it with family members, I can share it with kids, I can share it because it's legitimate. It's telling the story of my life in the midst of being trained to become a Navy SEAL. So it started I was 19 years old.
Wow. Okay, so have you ever thought of writing that down as like a guide for people, or did you use that in guiding youth later on? Like,
I,
because you
I
went through a transition, right?
Yeah, no, that evolved into, again, how come I became a clinical therapist was so that I could have the knowledge base to answer questions that were troubling so many kids. And in that, it was everything that goes to the creation of me, just that, for being there and having the ability to express myself, sharing what was a personal experience at 18, 19, 20 that became a guiding position at 29, 30, 31. And then in my 38, 39, 40, I get licensed, and now I'm a clinical therapist. And all that time goes into experience. Experience becomes, what is it? The experience becomes the emotion becomes the identity becomes the personality, and the personality is who you're sitting here with right now.
Okay. Yeah, normally you hear like the thought becomes the words, and the words become the action, and the action becomes the personality. That's what I hear most of the time.
And it's just along that line, different words, slightly different perspective.
Yeah, we experience life different, all of us. But that's very interesting. And so these journals, you started just one line, or did you get to
It
write
started
more?
as one line and turned into pages, turned into chapters, turned into manuals. I've got 18 that I wrote from 19 to, especially at 29 when I started my recovery. And in the first 10 years, I wrote constantly. So that 20-year period, and that was not to write a book for anybody. That was for me to understand me. And it turns out that was now what, a good dozen or so, if a dozen to 15, 16 manuals that I can go back to and open a page and be taken right back to the moment.
Okay, so when you say that, when you work with youth, as you said, you like to work with the, what was it, 20, 21-year-olds, because then, or
18,
19.
19, 20.
Okay, that's because then
That's the
the,
big one.
so that's because the parents are not having that much influence anymore, and you don't want to have the trouble with
Right.
also with the parents.
Always respectful to the parents, but you did what you did with them. Now it's my turn.
Yeah.
So
when you work with them, do you have a lot of experiences that you were getting into a point where you say, okay, my training, my teaching doesn't really bring me further, and you went back to your journal, you open a page, and there it was, going back to something?
Well, from the perspective of the journals, it's more I have written for me, and the transition out of the military. I was discharged from SEAL Team 1 for drug use, and it was horrible, terrible. I ended up in the civilian world for the first time at the age of 29. I have a serious drug alcohol issue. And so I end up going to a 90-day recovery facility, 12 steps AA. And it taught me how to stop using the drugs and alcohol for the 90 days, first time since I was the age of 14. So 15 years of partying. And then at about a year, I'm not understanding how to live life without drugs or alcohol. I have stopped the use, but how do you live life? And all the demons and all the issues were now crowded in my head because I didn't have my escape. My drugs and alcohol is what I use to escape the demons. And so I decided to put myself in the environment so that I could go see what it was to be 14 with a drug problem. So I took a job at an adolescent recovery facility called Daytop Village, and I was overnight counselor, and I did not go there to help kids. Let's be honest. I went there for a selfish reason, to learn how to figure out how to live life myself. And oh my goodness, I mean, I best laid plans of mice and men, whatever. I went in for a personal, selfish reason and came out with a gift given to me by a generation of youth who taught me that I was a good man. I was honorable. I was honest. I was able to earn their trust. And in earning their trust, they shared with me and made me feel as though I belonged. And then that began the journey of loyalty is everything for me. And with that, the generation giving me that gift, my loyalty is to give back to them. And that is the next journey. The first journey became a Navy SEAL, destroyed that. The next one became a worker with young people. And then the next one was an educated worker. And then the next one was the clinical worker. And then the creation of a program as a director. And now speaking engagements with a body of knowledge that's in all those journals, but they're also here in my head to use it depending on the circumstance.
Yeah. I was just asking this question because you said you open up and there you can go back. So when are you using the journals now to just...
It's a whole new one I'm writing again. This time around, I journal at the end of the night. I have got I'm done with my work world. I'm never going to retire because I will continue to work. But the fact of the matter is, again, voracious writer that my mother was, that I became, knowledge is power. And I am infinitely intrigued by all the various things that, as a clinical therapist, I'm cognitive behavioral therapy. That's my foundation. My specialty is eye movement, desensitization, reprocessing, EMDR. And those are the two things that I utilize in my therapy, and I don't use anything else. I am now looking at, the chakras and all of that information that is not scientifically necessarily based, that you can't use in a therapeutic setting. In fact, I am using it, but we're calling it CBT. So it's now the journaling is in the pursuit of a knowledge base that intrigues the hell out of me. Origin stories, my origin as a person and us as a people. Where'd we come from?
Yeah,
that involves with that.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the many questions I was totting down. Who are we? Where are we going for?
Yes.
But let's put that. Let's wait for that. So yeah, your journaling evolved. But what I meant is, like, when you look at the old journals, are you still going in them and opening them once in a while? And when would you do that?
As a matter of fact, I just went and found one of them, and recently, just because something dawned on me. And so, yeah, it's been a long time since I've touched any of them. And right now there's one that's sitting on my desk that for some reason I felt the need to. And the beauty is, once you've done the work of writing it, it's yours for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I've heard it many times. I should write down, and I've did like 1.5 years. I got a book, a calendar with limited space. I think 5 lines or something like that. But for me, it felt like not very productive what I wrote. It felt kind of repetitive, but not going deep, because I was feeling like perhaps I just felt I need to do something more. I don't know. Yeah. But sometimes I try to use it as attitude of gratitude journal to remember the good things that happened.
Oh, gratitude is key.
Yeah. When we go to let's stay at the books, otherwise I go left and right. The second book you wrote, when then?
5 years ago.
What is that?
3 years after the first one.
So very fast after each other.
Yeah. The first book, The Bell Tolls for Thee, was a gift to myself. I told my story. It was fun. The second book, that one was because I was sensing in America a direction that a nation was taking that I was not comfortable with, that I knew was going to create issues. And today, you know what? It's come true. So I wrote that because I wanted to give a generation of youth the understanding of who I am, where I've come from, what I have done, and in the pursuit of finding my way, I found my way into the world of young people. And if there is anybody that's being neglected in the world with all the issues of the world, young people are not being heard. And this is their world. They're being left with a world that's going, global warming, blah, 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 blah. There's the wealthiest versus the poorest, and they are inheriting this world and their voice isn't being heard. And so I wanted to write a book to find a way into the public domain so that I could get the light and have it focused on me so I could redirect it where I want it to go, and that is to the world of young people. So that book is a guidebook, Adolescence to Adulthood, and it's a gift given to the generation that is here right now, not being heard and experiencing anxieties and depressions and suicide and drug use. And that's not just America's youth, it's the world's youth.
Yeah. So what was the title of the second one?
Special Welfare, Social Warfare, Adolescence to Adulthood, a guidebook.
On top of your left head in black, for the people that see the video, it's a black cover with white writing.
That's it.
And For Whom the Bell Tolls is the other one. Okay. I didn't really read it until now after I saw it. So both books are for the ones which are watching the YouTube video on the back, at the back wall. And between that is the chakra system. We see it well enough. Don't have to move.
Yeah.
How was the reception of those two books so far? How do people react?
Non-existent. People don't read anymore. You know what? I left it for perpetuity. You know what? You write something, it's there for the rest. Both books are on Amazon. So they're there and they'll be there long after I'm gone. So in that way, I wrote it because at some point somebody might see it for what it is. It's a guidebook. And in there lies the roadmap that I've written so that I could leave it. If I can get it in my time, I will create it. But if I don't in my time, I want to leave something that will stay. And it doesn't matter if it was in my childhood, which was now almost 5-6 decades ago, or kids today. There are still issues in childhood that they are experiencing. And this book tells the story of how you can transition and find your way out of being a kid to becoming an adult.
Okay, so when you say this is a guide, me as a father with a 11 and 14-year-old kid, what are the no-dos you have seen, like the general? I mean, we're all different, right? So kids are different as well. So there's not like every time you do this, it's going to be bad. But the biggest mistakes we do as parents and the biggest good things we could do for kids.
Failure is one of them. Failures are right. I am sitting here not a product of my successes. I'm sitting here as a product of my failures. Failure has taught me what I needed to do to become this. And parents often want to protect, and we do. It's your child. But the fact is, you know what? You need to fall down and scrape your knee and have you teach yourself how to stop crying and how to get up and how to move on. That's a parent's responsibility. And all too often, parents don't let kids fall down. They don't let their kids fail. And so this is what I would suggest to any parent with the caveat. Understand this. Parents, all parents, including me, have felt we are terrible. We're horrible parents. And this is what I say to every parent that says that to me. I go, do your kids know that you love them? And parents are like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, well, that's it. As long as your kid knows that they are loved, they'll figure it out. If you give them that gift, the world is terribly difficult. It's uncomfortably painful, but love will conquer all. And if you, the parent, have given your child what love is, then you've given them the gift of how to live life.
Yeah, and that thing about failure, I had the last few years the talk that now we're in the 2025s, 2020s, and in the 80s, 90s, we went down with the bicycle without suspension, without disc brakes, without helmets, down the down the hill and then falling down and shooting with whatever plastic bullets and guns and whatever not. And
all of that.
The playgrounds were cemented. I don't know, America probably worse than Switzerland.
No, same thing.
And then the dandelions growing out of the cement, and it's not even, and you run there and you fall and you come back home all bloody knees, and you don't have that anymore.
Yes, and that's the sadness, because the fact of the matter is that right now, the insecurity and the anxiety and the depression are coming from not falling down, or falling down and being picked up by your parents. You need to pick yourself up. Self-esteem is critical. And the child that knows they're loved and were allowed to fail and expected to overcome that, get up and what are you going to do now? That taught lesson with love is the elixir.
It's kind of like tough love. I mean, you can go both ways, right? There's like the tough parents which are like, get up.
Yeah.
But you can also give it with compassion and love and still be there and hug the kids. So you said you're a parent yourself. I didn't even ask you last time. So you have kids in that case. Probably grown up. Are you
girls? Not a grandpa. No, not a grandpa yet.
Not yet. Too young. You were 29.
Which is fine, Yeah.
You were 29 when you came out to the civilization outside the military.
And I came out broken, so that I had to go back to childhood at the age of 29. And so, literally, I was a late blooming family, late 30s.
Okay,
and it was because that's everybody's life journey is different. And all that I would say is to young people, you have time. 20s and 30s, everybody will tell you, you need to know where you're going. You need to know the direction. You need to know what you want to be. No, you don't. You do not need to know. You need to know that you're going to figure it out as long as you're allowed to test the waters and not sit on your butt at home joysticking. No. You got to go out and find it. But take time. You got plenty of time to find it. So another nugget.
I mean, I'm 47. I still don't know where I'm going. I feel like at 47, I should have kind of figured out what works, what doesn't work. And I have the feeling I still haven't figured out anything.
Yes.
I know I'm good in talking with people and I'm curious, and it definitely gives me energy having discussions like we have now. I always know that. Editing is the harder stuff until I get started, and then I feel the energy again from the talk most of the time.
Good.
So that's kind of like where I am. And so you say failure. How would you define failure? I was thinking that when you said it.
Okay, so it depends on the kid. The overachiever that gets a B and it feels as a failure, you need to make sure they don't. Just tell them the next time, get a D. It's reverse psychology. Here's the thing is, because a driven kid who gets the B and is falling apart and you tell them to get the D, they're not going to get the D. They're going to motivate themselves, but they got your support, not your judgment.
Yes, school grading can be a bitch. I mean, I know so many. The Godfather. I know several people which are depressed, stressed because the parents wanted the kids to have a better life, and so you only had a B. Why are you not an A plus?
Yes,
right. And being one of the 3 best in the whole fucking school was not enough.
And what are you doing to that kid? That's sitting in his room suicidal.
Yes, that person is 4, depressed, 25 years on antidepressants, still doesn't get out of it. Right, and I know several people in a similar situation. What caused mine, I don't know. I don't see that my parents did anything wrong. I was climbing trees. Did I fall down with trees? No. I know a friend of mine fell down a few meters. But we played police and robber and police. And then, the robbers had to hide somewhere and then climbing up the trees and coming all bruised back home and stuff like that. So I don't have the feeling that. And I have 2 kids, as I said. So you talked about insecurities and the failure, a manual for people. Anything else you would like to share with the people about the book? I just didn't ask.
Yeah. The book. There's several aspects to the book. One of them was because I wanted to share who I was and why I'm here and what it's trying to do, and explaining how in my adolescence to adulthood, and then working with youth, I saw my generation, the boomers, and then Generation X and the millennials. So I've seen these generations. I've worked with them. I know what the similarities are, but there are differences. And with Honor Bound Academy, that was my belief is what was missing. And because I was not able to get it financed at the level that I wanted, one for males and one for females in every state in the United States. That would be 100 Honor Bound Academies. And with not having that ability to get it, I wanted to leave. I spent a lot of money in research and going back to academia to peer review it so that it was a legitimate program. And all of that material, plus everything, all of the journaling that was done during that period, which came in the forms of writing your notes, all the statistical analysis, all the evaluations are in the book. And that's why the book was the gift, my gift given back, so that if somebody finds it, I have all the rights. It's all trademarked, but I'm giving it saying, if you can figure out the finances and make it at this level, have at it. And if you want, I'll come and help you figure it out. So in the book, at the end is all the material on Honor Bound Academy. The front end tells you, how did you get to becoming this person that created that program? And in those pieces, adolescence to adulthood, it's a rite of passage. And then there are 2 critical elements in the book. What is the truth? What does the truth look like in this day and age? And so I put out information in the form of a SWOT. SWOT is, what is it? SWOT, what is why am I brain locking on that? It's the threats. Anyways, I did that for each generation. Strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threat. I brain locked on that. Strengths, what is your strength? What is your weakness? What's the opportunity? What's the threat? And I did a SWOT on the baby boomers and on Generation X and on the millennials and on Generation Z. I put in there to the generation that's coming up that's not being heard, this is the strengths of us, this is our weaknesses, this is the opportunities we present, and this is the threat we are to you. And that goes in. And then I told the story of, it's always the same thing. Where's the money? Follow the money. Today, the world has a handful of incredibly wealthy people and the rest of us. And the disparity between the two is creating huge issues. And this generation that is coming up is not going to be prepared for what's coming if we don't address the finances, the money, and that's the front end of the book. Special welfare, we got to create a special welfare system to correct that, because if we don't, you're going to have social warfare, and that's already being seen.
Yes.
So that's what the book is all about in a nutshell.
And the Honor Bound Academy, this was different places around the US where people could go, or what was the idea?
Is what I wanted it to be. It was only in Sonoma, California. It was a singularity. It never got funded to the degree. No, I could never get anybody to buy into what I was trying to create. And you know what? Nobody owes me anything, but that they couldn't see what this was all about. And our youth are in such need. And people are saying, the saying is, they are our national treasure. Please give me some other BS line. So what? You're treating your national treasure as throwaway garbage.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why it fell apart. And now you transition into public speaking or professional speaking.
Telling this story, just like you and I are doing. So parenting groups, I go to boys and girls clubs. I still work with the homeless. You know what? There's an answer for that, but nobody's going to want to hear my answer for it. And so I still go there because one key element is I got to remember where I came from. I was once homeless, destitute, living on the street, broken. I don't ever want to forget that. And to go back into that world and not just show up once a year at Christmas time to put food on somebody's plate. No. In town, there's a homeless shelter, soup kitchen that, you know what, I spend time there. There's a Boys and Girls Club in town. I go there. This is where I can give back now that I had my birthday yesterday. I can now take all that knowledge, all the journals with all that knowledge is here. And now I can give it to where I want to give it so that it's a gift. And that's what right now is speaking to anybody that'll give me a speaker to tell a story.
Okay, so when you go to homeless, for example, you said not just on Christmas putting up some food on a plate. Are you talking to the people? Are you just sitting with them?
Oh, yeah. Because that's where working with kids, you can't walk in to a group of kids and not have them just completely ignore you. I learned this as a unit director at a Boys and Girls Club. The ages were 6 to 18. It was easy with the 6, 7, 8-year-olds. They'll let you play with them. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. No, man, you better figure out how you're going to do that. And the way I did it, I showed up every day and said I was going to be there. If I said I was going to do something, I did it. I was always honorable in my behaviors with them. And if they asked me for something, if I said I would do it, I did it. And I was a unit director for 4 years. And at the end, it was a family. It was the most awesome job of all my jobs. That was the one that was a sheer joy because I had to create it. At the beginning, I had 59 kids at a Boys and Girls Club. 4 years later, I had 440 kids. And they were the vast majority of them were teenagers. And you do not get that age group or that many coming to a place unless they trust you. So.
Wow. And how is it with the homeless then?
Same thing. You go daily, every day. And here's the thing is, my professional degree is a social worker. I have a master's in social work. Think about that. I work with everybody. I worked in prisons. I worked in soup kitchens. I worked with the geriatrics in old people's homes. I worked with the developmentally disabled. I've worked with child protective services. All of these things to better understand how to relate to people so that you are coming across, not looking down your nose at somebody who's not in as good a circumstance as you, but will sit there as equals, knowing that I'm not going to judge them. I do understand it, and you're not going to play me because you know what? BS is BS. I'm the greatest BSer, just like the rest of you guys are. It's like, no. So that it's a really good relationship that's based off of me showing up, saying I'm going to do it, showing up on time, and doing what I say. Trust.
How do you do that? How can you be unconditional and accepting and non-judgmental with people like that? Because I know when I see them out here because the apartments have been cheap so far, but now everything is going to be renovated. And then you see them sitting there drinking and alcohol and drugs and poor. And then they talk to you and you just I feel like, wow, how can you talk like that to each other? How can you talk like that to me? How can a person then learn? And I try to be accepting. I try not to judge, but I still do. I still do judge.
Yeah.
So how was it possible for you to learn not to be judgmental and also the BS, right? Not to be BS'd by them?
Because of my background. It was them sitting. There was a period of time after my discharge from the military that it was 4 months that I was waiting to get into a recovery facility. My parents had let me back, but I was still using and still living on the street. What is it called? Couch surfing? Spending the night at somebody's house on their couch. And so that is a fact. And I understand the dynamic of why you have to use. People have asked, how come you can't just quit? And I ask people that aren't addicts or alcoholics, I go, how do you put that down and walk away from it? So it's an understanding. I am only today, by the grace of a power greater than myself, that I am sitting with them as a kindred spirit of, what we're going to be when we pass on. As you sit there, if you want money from me, you ain't getting it. If you want to BS me and try to get a manipulation of a game so that I can get you a service or something like that, you know what? I'm going to find the one that I know really needs it. And because I can't save the world, and like I shared with you, I'm doing this for the one. That's all I have to do. Anybody that does this because they're going to change the world, you know what, man? You need a psychiatrist if you're thinking that. All that I'm trying to do is help one addict and alcoholic at a time. One is what I'm capable of. And when you sit across from me, no matter what you are, a kid, an adult, an addict, whatever, why would I judge you? I mean, damn, I forgot, what was it, 5 years ago? And I lost my sobriety. I had 32 years. And it was the first time I experienced suicide. So humility is an essential part of what I am. And because it's in me, it's not something I wear, people respond to that. They sense it, especially kids. Kids, when you do therapy, be prepared. Be very careful because that kid's going to see your button. And you know what? They don't know it from a scientific standpoint. They just sense it, and boom. And trust me, I've had more than enough kids hit that button, and I just wanted to throttle them. But you don't, because I had given my word, and this was part of my learning experience, and it paid off so that I have continued using it through the years.
And you grow as a person by being pushed this button.
Yeah.
And you could overcome these shadows, these dark, suppressed, whatever emotions, memories.
Yeah. You got it.
And it's, apparently I've learned a few things the last 20 years.
I would hope so.
But also when I re-listened to the old episode, I'm like, wow, I kind of got what you were sharing. So, and that's also why I asked you, because I feel like when you walked the path, then you can understand the people which are walking the path. So many people which are now here and they say, I'm depressed for 20 years. I'm drug using or alcohol abusing or pornography. I don't know what. I cheat myself or cheat other people. I talk bad about them. Many of those will then be able to help people in a similar situation and move on. And they will feel. Do you feel like even if you just walk down a city, in a country, wherever you are, that people with similar backgrounds to you are drawn to you somehow?
Yeah. Both ways, negative and positive. I remember, I forget, I ran away from home. I think when was it? It was just before I went into the military when I was having trouble at home. What was that, 18? And I drove from San Francisco Bay Area in California up through Oregon, into Washington, and into Canada. And then I drove another 500 miles up into Canada to a place called Hope, Canada. And when I got there, I had spent all my money. And I tried to hawk my bicycle that I had put in my vehicle with me. And because I wasn't a citizen of Canada, they wouldn't hawk my bike. And so I'm walking down a street 500 miles up into Canada, and I look and see the guy who's got the drugs and walked right at him and introduced myself. And within a very short period of time, I was getting high with him. Didn't know him, never met him. But you know what? We give off the Jones when we're using, and it holds true when your soul is honorable. You draw that to you. And then when you do what I do as a social worker, you draw those that are ready to find their way out of that place. And you're going to run into those that don't want to, that are playing or gaming the system. But you know what? After this many years, I know what you look like. I know what you smell. I know what you feel like. And I'm going to ignore you to the one that truly might be ready for the gift.
Okay, yeah. So you read my mind here. So the people, like the people find this episode which are ready, if they know it or don't know it. I mean, there's also the people which listen to that and say bullshit, or whatever. But something in them has pushed them. Or my friend from South Africa and Botswana, the one I told you, I said, because of your podcast, we are friends now for 1.5 years. And what did I want to say? Oh shit! Now I lost the train.
Yeah, you and me both, man. I lost that with the SWAT thing. Okay, it'll come back to you. It'll come back.
It's come. Yeah. But they feel drawn and they don't know it. But yeah, they're triggered and they might push it away, but they are ready for it. And it's hard. And I heard a lot of messages, and sometimes you have to just hear it 100 times. And exactly. Colin said YouTube will just present stuff for him. So he was, I don't know what he was watching before, but then it was with his initials. And then he was like, oh, same initials as me. Oh, the name of my father, name of my mom. And he listened to it. Nice. And then Edgar Neville and these kind of things, right? The metaverse and all these spiritual things came to him.
Oh, yeah.
And then I came to him and I was talking about near-death experiences. And that's how he found me. And he had just these out-of-body experiences. No near-death, but he has seen a lot of reality or theory of gaming theory and stuff like that. And I was able to tell him what I know intellectually, but he has the experiences. But by now he has learned much more. And I'm like, I have it all here. It's just the experiences are missing. But why did you guys come to me suddenly? Like 5-6 people in 1 week want to have a podcast on my show. I'm like, yeah, but for the last 3 months there was nothing. And then 1 week. But it's also because I felt good because I let go. I said, okay, fuck the always try to do. Yeah. Just play, just enjoy. Life is not about doing all the time. It's about enjoying and living.
You know what? You said the word play. And for me, this was the lesson that if you're going to work with kids, you're going to play with them. But here's the thing. You can't play with a kid as an adult. You have to play with a kid like you're a kid. I learned how to be that kid because kids will respond to the kid in you. They will not respond to the adult who's trying to be a kid. No, you have to be that kid. And playing to me was hopscotch, was climbing the tree to the very top, was playing sports with them, was sitting and talking with them. It was all about how to play. That was the gift that they gave me that is to this day. I play.
Oh, that's beautiful. So when did you stop playing as a kid? What age?
I stopped playing as a kid 5 years ago when I forgot and it came back and it bit me.
Yeah, and before that, as a teenager, did you still play as a kid? Or
so
the drug abuse,
it erased all the fears and the concerns and the shortcomings and the emotions. It zeroed it for me. And because I was athletic, I fit in. I had a place to go. I played sports, so I had that. And then when I went in the military and was given the opportunity to be a SEAL, I had the physical ability. And all these things are based in understanding who you are and what you are and how to continue to educate yourself. And again, playing has never stopped in my life except for when I lost my way and in forgetting it. And that's the only time, because once they taught me how to play as a kid, all those 40, almost 38 years ago, oh no, I still play today to that extent.
I had to imagining that when you started taking the drugs and the alcohol and you went to the military, that you, especially being a SEALs, I cannot imagine that you play as a SEALs like a kid, that you kind of like let the kid go and be like
let me
serious.
come on. You know what? No. You get to play with some of the most off the wall tools. Remember, weapons and systems. Give me a break. I'm going up to 10,000 feet and jumping out, locked and loaded, hit the ground. And that wasn't the fun part. The fun part was now I hit the ground and I get to hunt. Come on. I'm playing. You know what? And you're going to lose.
Oh my God. I didn't remember. So you were also doing jumping from the plane.
Yeah.
Where did you jump? Where did you jump? Just in America or all around the world?
Yeah. I remember jumping in Brindisi, Italy. We had to get qualified. Every year you got to do so many. And we were coming up on a qual and I was out away from America. So I remember Brindisi. And the cool part was as we were coming down and landing, you're looking at all these Roman era, all the it was like, you were looking down at history and you were floating down into it. It was awesome. The vast majority of my time of jumping was on the East Coast or the West Coast, Brownfield or what was it, Suffolk on the East Coast. Yeah.
Okay, so landing in the Colosseum, okay, that's Rome. But landing in some Roman things.
Yeah, it was, I can remember, I can still see it. It's like the ruins were there and you're floating down on it and you're like, wow, how cool is this?
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know SEALs because I think of SEALs, the ones in black rubber suits going in the water, and you said also underwater something.
Yeah.
So you were also doing water parachute jumping, so you've jumped over water and then directly diving, like James Bond's kind of stuff.
Yeah, called rubber duck, and that was you can go out and that's how you insert. So all of that, and remember. You're playing. You think about it. You're playing with serious toys, and that's wow. Yeah. Anyways.
Oh my God! I just see jumping in the middle of the night with night goggles on and all these things.
Yeah.
And so when you were jumping, you did also go into action, or was it just practicing for action?
I never saw action. That was, okay. I was in the time frame that there were not wars. So everything was practice. Everything.
Or like just show for the guys, hey, we are here. So don't think of doing anything
stupid. You want to continue to keep your skill set. It's just as a therapist, I'm retired now, but I still have clients. I still see people because I don't want to lose what I have. And it's the same thing. You're constantly training. When you're not training, you're operating. And when you're not operating, you're training. And that's the cycle, the life cycle of an operator.
Okay, I thought just like as a military, as US, to show off like, hey, we have the SEALs here and they jump here and present. But not being in war, but just like to show as a state like, hey, we are here in case you want to do something stupid.
I don't remember. We did dog and pony shows, but I don't think I didn't ever do it as a parachuting thing. No, that was not mine.
Did you continue jumping after the military service?
Once.
Or did you stop?
Too expensive, but I wanted to do it once. Yeah.
Yeah, but so you did like 9 years of jumping. So you had like a lot of experience. Could you?
I did I think I had 65 jumps in my career.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
and then I had one civilian jump. They wanted me to go out with somebody to like hold my hand. And I'm like, no, you're not going to hold my hand. And, I gave them my jump book that I had kept with the 65 jumps on them. And it was really expensive. And their policy was that somebody went out with me and held my hand when we went out. And I pissed him off because I locked him up way up and then pulled away and did what I did. And he said, don't ever come back again. I'm like, I won't.
Okay, so you were what? Was it just after you came back, or was it a few years later?
No, I was clean and sober, I think 3 or 4 years when I did that. And I did it with a bunch of sober people. It was a group of us. So, yeah.
I just had to ask because I think your booking manager you had for the last episode saw the episode I talked with Jones Wells or Wells Jones, and he was a para jumper in Antarctica. So he was jumping at the South Pole.
Wow. How awesome would that be?
And that's why I asked you. So it could have been that you're flying over the jungle somewhere and had to land in between, I don't know, some huge trees.
And it all depends on the era of which. I was trained by Vietnam era. They fought Vietnam War. That was a completely different animal. And then as a military family life consultant, I was working with folks that had done Iraq and Afghanistan. And unfortunately, go ahead.
Yeah, so he was jumping in 77, I think. So he was like the 7th or 10th, which jumped on the South Pole.
Wow, 77. I was just graduating from high school. I was a year away from going into the military.
Exactly. So it's not. So he was not like 10, 20 years before you. So it's kind of similar in age. And it's interesting that people like that with similar backstories come to me.
And because you draw us.
I'm not really a military. I'm not really a military guy, but we talked about it last time that I was anti-terror, and then I went out and I signed the papers that the whole mental thing doesn't work with me. I don't want to go shooting, but I was pulled by the challenge. Right? So if I would have known there's parachute, I would have gone for that because it's a challenge. As you say, it's a game.
It's a challenge. You're right. It's a challenging game.
Yeah, so I can see you with the tools. I could see the childlike happiness when you said, yeah, but you have all these tools. And
toys.
Toys. And wow, that's good. So you just mentioned working with veterans. Is that something you did a lot? Because you talked so much about youth.
Yeah,
Is that just a small minor group you helped with?
No, so here's the thing is I got to go back and fix my past in a offhand way. So I took a job as a military family life consultant. I did that from 2009 to 2016 for 7 years. And when I started, it was just active duty military. It was Army, Navy, Marines, or Air Force. And a very short period of time, the individual that ran the program found out that my background was special forces. And he was just starting to have military family life consultants being sent to Special Operations Command and then allocated to the Rangers, the Green Berets, SOAR, MARSOC, the SEALs, and the PJs, the Air Force. And I ended up going back working specifically for SOCOM I got to work with all the special forces after being discharged for drug use with a general under honorable that I believed I had betrayed my brotherhood and my brothers. And now the circle came back around where I was effective because I was them. I was a Navy SEAL. So when I walked in and I was sitting with Green Berets, they didn't like me because I was Navy, but they trusted me because I was Special Forces, and I was a Special Forces licensed clinical social worker. I was clinical, so I was able to be effective in ways that whoever followed me up could not go into the rooms that I was allowed into. And so in giving back, I came to understand the demons that they were facing, what war does to individuals, and how if you're going to be, because remember I said cognitive behavioral and EMDR, cognitive behavioral wasn't working. It doesn't work with post-traumatic stress disorder, what veterans, male and female, are experiencing. And so I saw a practitioner utilize eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR. And I said, whoa, teach me how to do that. And they're like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean? No, just give me the material. I'll figure it out. And he's like, look, you do this wrong, you're going to hurt somebody. And I'm like, oh, okay. So after I was done with that 7-year period, I went back to school in Northern California, one of the founding creators of EMDR has an institute. I went there and was trained and then certified with EMDRIA. I moved into Sensitization Reprocessing International Association because you cannot do EMDR unless you're certified. And so that at this stage is, again, what I saw working with special forces and actually with all veterans that were dealing with war wounds, moral injuries. EMDR was what was essential. And that's what I went back to school for because I saw how effective it was. And because of that experience, that's what I was given. And I gave to them the knowledge that you can talk to a therapist. You know what? There's validity in what we do. You don't have to like me.
Wow. It's like, I see your life as a lot of get and give or give and get back.
Yeah, balance. Chakras, man. Balance. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, I think we soon go into that. So I can see that this 7 years were for you like a good closer, like a circle, closing the circle of the wound of being dishonorable, discharged.
Yep.
So you could go back and forth. And we talked about this training last time, and you said you were going out for 2 years to help all these firefighters, policemen, which went out for free to practice.
Yeah, because I had it wasn't enough to get certified. It took me a couple of years to learn how to do it, and I worked with it was West Coast WCPR, West Coast Post-Trauma Retreat. This is where first responders, this was police, highway patrol, fire, anybody that works as a first responder, if it's the same thing that happens in the military, the job can overwhelm you and you end up on the threshold of getting fired because you're not processing the right way with these issues. And they send you, this is your last chance. It's a 1-week program in a place called Angwin, California. And so for 2 years, every other Sunday, I went and gave my skill set and practiced to become very, I'm not going to say I'm very good. I am competent. I still got years to go to become what I've seen others do, but it takes time with this. So, yeah.
Yeah, but you have a lot of different things, tools underneath your belt, which make you specifically usable or useful or whatever you want to call, right, for a specific group, a niche.
Yeah.
That's what everyone says, go for your niche. And you definitely have a niche where not many people can go and work.
Young people.
Not only that, also veterans.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that's not my focus. My focus is on young people, but my skill set is built for veterans. Yeah, absolutely. And I still work with them. But that when you say niche, it's the kids.
That's where the heart is.
They're the ones that gave me my life back. My loyalty is to them. This isn't, because I'm a good guy or because it's a wonderful thing to do. I was a devastated human being who had lost everything, and the world had turned their back on me, as they should. When you're that kind of human being, take, and destroy everything, then you don't deserve anything. It's when you're ready to try. That's when. And it was at that moment when I was ready to try, I found my way out of that darkness because of the kindness of young people.
Yeah, you mentioned that many times, the kindness, the playfulness, and you give back. And there, the rite of passage, you mentioned several times, and I think in the first episode and this episode, we are kind of touching up on it. But let's go a little bit deeper. Rite of passage. When did you encounter it first time? And what happened in your life? And how do you use it now?
First rite of passage I was 7, 8, and 9. The program was called Why Indian Guides. My father, it was a son's program, sons and fathers. And I had 2 younger siblings. The youngest one was too young, but my middle brother and I participated in Why Indian Guides. Now think about it. Why Indians are the foundation of the rite of passage. It's tribal. It's kids being taken from their mothers, handed over to their fathers, and the fathers take them into the real world and teach them to hunt, teach them to survive, teach them. And that was the first one. The second one, I was a Boy Scout. I was a Boy Scout from 13, 14, and 15. At 15, it just, I don't, no. But that was the boy, the Boy Scouts is now Boys and Girl Scouts. It has merged. But at that time, for me, the program was called, there was a camporee once a year. And in that camporee was an obstacle course. And I love obstacle courses. Now we go Y Indian Guides, Boy Scouts, military, Navy SEALs. Third week of boot camp, they say you can take a screening test to become a SEAL. I don't know what a SEAL is. I've never heard of this. I saw a picture of a cargo net, the 50-foot cargo net. I wanted to go do the cargo net. That's all that mattered to me. I didn't know what I was getting into. When I got there, I was like, there's the cargo net, but what the hell's the rest of this? And all of that is based in being transitioned from boys to men, adolescents to adults. All of that was, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 20. All of that was the rite of passage that I experienced. And then at the time that I went in the military, that's 1978, 79. Vietnam's only over for about 4 years. Nobody wanted the military. The military the morale was horrible. It was terrible. And that's the world I went into because they gave me everything I wanted. I wanted to be a hospital corpsman. I wanted to be a doctor. And then this side thing, a SEAL, whatever that is, I'll go and try that thing. And it turns out that the experience was incredible because I succeeded. And then we advanced 9 years, 6 months, and all of that is destroyed by my addiction. And I end up into a recovery facility that is forcing me back into childhood to deal with the emotions and the memories. And I can't figure it out because I can't see it. So because I'm going to use again and it's going to turn out I'm going to be homeless, I'm going to be incarcerated or dead. Those are the only options that are going to happen if I use again. I decide I'm going to go and put myself in the environment of young people that had the same issue as me, but they were in the moment trying to figure it out. Overnight counselor, Daytop Village, and the rest we've told that story. So
that's 4 times, rite of passages for you.
And that's what I created in Honor Bound Academy. Look, I did not take the SEAL program. The Green Berets got their program, the MARSOC, every special forces, the Rangers, they all have their schools that you go to. I'm not creating that. No parent is going to let me have their kid to become what, a little hitman? The fact of the matter is I utilized the first one. Y Indian Guides. Native American culture has that ritual of the transition where you take boys and you make them men. You guide them with their presence. They are mentors. My father with the Y Indian Guides, the Scoutmasters with the Boy Scouts, they were called instructors. All the instructors at Buds, we all wanted to be because they were these gods that, warriors that had done the deed. They were what we wanted to emulate. And I saw the power of that guidant piece. So that when I created Honor Bound Academy, I utilized the Native American model so that you're looking at the ritual of transitioning that is ancient. This is ancient amongst all cultures. And that was what drove me to create Honor Bound Academy, where I use nature. Nature has fire, air, wind, water. You utilize. I am a clinical therapist for 20 years now, and I'm good. I'm really good. The fact of the matter is, the best clinician I ever met, Mother Nature. Nature heals in a way that is beyond my capacity. And that's what I wanted to use. You use water, teach them how to swim. If they can't swim, teach them how to scuba dive. Once they learn how to swim, I had it so that you're going out and having to map and compass, find your way out in nature where you don't know, there's no roads. You got to figure this out by using a map and a compass. And you teach these things so that they begin to trust themselves that they're capable. You can't put them in a situation that they can't. And kids are never going to die. They can't die. They're going to take on to this kind of schooling, this kind of education, this kind of opportunity, and they loved it. They were motivated for it. It was wonderful. And it's all that circle from Why Indian Guides to my addiction, destruction, rebirth, and then opportunity to give back to those who had given to me, young people.
Okay, so the rite of passage is basically just to grow up, to become a man. When you go around, do you see people which never passed the rite of passage?
Men?
Yeah. Men and women. I guess for women, the birth is kind of a rite of passage.
That's BS, because you know what now they have? There are female special forces. They operate. I know they are. I did not have access to them because they were protected, but I know they're there. So now you can put a woman through the same training I put through these men, because those women are operators. And from what I gather, they're shit hot too. So that perspective, males and females, at Daytop Village, that adolescent recovery facility, they did co-ed. They had girls and boys at the age of 13 to 17-year-olds with raging hormones, and you're going to put them under the same roof and actually expect them to figure out how to address their drug and alcohol issues? You got to be kidding. So my programs, no integrated, no boys and girls. Female, male, same program, separate. Afterwards, if the opportunity would have been given to me, I would have merged them at the end of training so that they can know each other. Yeah, then, but not during. No co-ed. Co-ed don't work.
Yeah. That's not the question I had, but I just mean generally speaking, when you look out.
Okay. Answer that
when
question.
I listen, but you answered another question.
I'll go back to that one if you want.
Yeah, it's just because during my podcast interview, like the women, many say through giving birth, 1-2 kids, that's kind of like changing who they are. It's kind of like
the menstrual cycle too. That's a girl.
Yeah, a woman. Yeah, women have 3 lives when they're born, menstrual cycle, giving birth, and then around 40.
Right.
And many men in the modern world don't have the rite of passage anymore.
Yep. And so you know what you get? You get women beaters. You get men who hit women. What you get is drugs and alcohol, addicts and alcoholics who have not come to terms with. You've got all of these things, insecure men. You've got, you see it in the world today. Men are lost. It's like, what am I supposed to be?
I've been there, not to attack my ex-wife. She didn't do anything wrong. It was just me not having had a father which showed me how to be a man. Yeah. Not to attack my father, but he didn't know better himself, right? This is like the generational blockages or traumas or whatever which are given forth. So you see that. I just see also this gender discussion is also one of these problems. Men don't know what it is to be a man anymore, and a woman. And then you're like having this fluidity. Today I'm a man, today I'm a woman. What the fuck? Mm-hmm. You are who you are. You cannot just be a man and a woman the day after. Yeah. You have a gender. Find out who you are. You're completely disconnected with yourself if you think like that. And that's the rite of passage. I think a hard school like old days, probably also a rite of passage where you really have to go focus, be structured. But how does your program help grown-up men, which are like 35, 50 years of age and never had this rite of passage? Is there something for them to do? Men's groups or rite of passage?
Remember the book I told you I put Honor Bound Academy in there? I put A to Z how that program is run. There are 3 tests. One was fire, one was water, and one was air. And I had the rituals, and you can read what I did and remember the word ritual. you can create your own difficult experience. Look, the ocean is the greatest joy of my life. Surf zone is where seals, we live and we breathe. It's all about that surf zone. It allows us to get into a beach where you're not expecting it, and if we get to the water, we get out and we get away. And the way I translate that is ask a surfer. Surfers do the same thing as we do. We use it for ingress and egress, but the surfer uses it for fun, and so do we. So you can learn how to surf or body surf or boogie board, and these are nature again, and you're figuring out how not to drown, and then you're seeing how fun it is and the joy that it brings, and then when you get out, you're exhausted and you feel rejuvenated. The other one, in California, Oregon, and Washington, that's the west coast of the United States, from the Mexican border to the Canadian border, there's a trail called the Pacific Crest Trail. On the East Coast, it goes from Maine to Atlanta. That's I forget which one that's called. So in the one, I walked a portion of the Pacific Crest Trail, and it was incredibly physically exerting. It was exhausting. You're traveling miles, and I did it for days over a period of time, over a period of a distance. And I had to prepare for that. I had to train for that. Once I got there, I had to use my faculties so that I could, not lose my life, or because you're out in nature, nobody's going to come and save you. And when you succeed in that, that memory is a joy, because I was 36 years old when I did that. And so it was physically exerting. It was a challenge. I overcame it. And it's a memory that when I get overwhelmed, I can go back to that place and remember how exhausted at the end of the day was. And because I have the journal entry, I can read it again. And it's what men can do for themselves. Challenge yourself in nature. You pick it. You want the mountain, you want the desert, you want the ocean. Challenge yourself. If you want to understand what the hell does that mean, the book has it in the end. I gave you the entire way from the moment they woke up to the moment they went to sleep for the entire, it was a 1-year program, 4-month segments, 3 phases. Read it to understand what you can do to challenge yourself, and then go and challenge yourself. You didn't get it. Somebody didn't give this to you. Give it to yourself. It still works.
Yeah, this is great. So that was like the walk you made, that was fire, or earth. And so what is the fire and the air?
The fire was when the kids came, they came wearing their clothes. They liked that saggy, baggy thing. So I put them in, they all had sweats the same color. I wanted them to wear the same things, and so that they all see that they're the same. And so when we got done with the first phase of it, I took their clothes and we burned them. We burned what they were. That was, and we did it with asking permission. I didn't just take their stuff and burn it, but I explained what you were, you're no longer, and you still got 2 phases to go. So then when we got to water, if you didn't know how to swim, I taught you how to swim. If you knew how to swim, I took you out into the bay. The bay is ocean water, but it's nowhere near the ocean. The end result was I wanted to take them to the ocean. Some kids I could, some I couldn't. Some did not know how to swim, and I wasn't going to risk it. But that was water. And then air, I took them up and threw them out of an airplane at 3,500 feet.
Here you go.
Yeah, no, we went to the place where they taught, and I gave it to the instructors that instruct. That's their, what I paid them for. They brought them, and it was a static line. And so when you jump out, it pulls for you. And it's still, you got to jump. And you're up at 3,500 feet. The world looks different. And you want me to what? And this is these kids that are, you know what, I'm the baddest motherfucker. You know, I can do that. And then I watched them like little girls whining. I don't want to. And then when they were done, they were like, yeah, let's do it again. Fire, earth, air, water. Use the natural environment, put them in so that the transition is done so that you accomplish. And at the end, the final one was to give him an outfit. I said, I needed it to be a suit. I'm like, you're going to need a suit because you're going to go to a funeral or you're going to go to a wedding and you got to know how to dress. So I bought them their first suit. I burned their clothes, but I bought them a suit. And the suit was, you have to be able to walk into my world. And my world requires you dressing that way. Now, if I want to walk into your world, I'll dress like you and you can dress however you want. That's your world. But you need to teach boys how to be able to walk into a room with men. And the first thing you see is how the guy's dressed. And you're being judged. And so I am teaching you how to walk into that room to be able to hold your own. The rite of passage.
That's intense. That's cool. Awesome. Like, yeah, burning the clothes, jumping up.
That ritual of burning the clothes was powerful, dude. Because they looked at it and they were like, especially the shoes. The shoes are like, at that time, shoes were everything, man. And the sagging, you know what? I burned it all. It was cool.
Yeah, the Converse shoes back then, I guess.
Converse or Nike?
Yeah, the Air Jordans.
Jordan,
yeah. Okay. Let us be there. But yeah, thank you so much for letting us into the rite of passage. So that's more for the adolescent. And then as a grown-up, if you didn't have it, try. I mean, I had like these urges of staying 3 days in the forest where I lived. And my ex-wife even said, just go and then come back whenever you're ready. Yeah. I'm like, I have no water, nothing with me. So how do I survive with no water? It was
and I tell you what, in there, it's stated water purification and how to find water. That's critical. Where's your food? Where's your water? Where's your shelter? And where's the love?
Yeah, but that was like, okay, I go. Right? It really something in me said, just go. You need this rite of passage somehow.
Nice.
Get away from the family. But I didn't really do it. One day I just walked away, and they're like, "Where's he from?" I have 2% battery. I charge it. I come back when I'm ready, but I need to get away. And the funny thing is, 2 or 3 years later, my yoga teacher from India, from the south of India, he told me my medicine is walking. But I have a dog, and you should walk alone. I walk 1.5 hours with the dog and then 1-2 hours alone. When do I get anything else done after work with food and all the things? So he's okay, walk with the dog, but you should have the chance to walk your speed. With my dog, Husky and Collie in her, forget it to walk my speed. She walks her speed. But there, at that day, I just needed to go. I had a backpack with drinks and a sleeping bag if I get tired. And I just walked. And then eventually like, okay, shit, I should go back. It was dark. I knew the wolves were back in Denmark. And then I'm like, shit, how do I walk back? And I got exhaustion. The water was not enough, right? The food, it was like 3, 4, 5 hours of walking super speed. I had all this anger in me. So I really needed to go my speed. Right, and that was fast. And on the way back, that speed went down, and and then what happened afterwards? We leave it at that. But I needed that, and we had a friend at our place that said, "I need this. Don't worry about me. I have this. I'm not going to kill myself for anything." Right? It was like 2 years after my suicide thoughts I had, and everyone knew that. I said, "I'm not going to kill myself, but I need to get walking, and I go into the forest because I just need to do it."
Yeah.
And I was really pissed that I did not respect that I'm okay, right? They were really afraid that I did something bad. But I'm a very honest person. I'm not going to say I'm okay if I know I'm going to do something bad. So that But I don't know if it was a rite of passage, but it was just like something I needed to do. And I still haven't done this wilderness thing, this going off in the Rocky Mountains or somewhere. I still have this drive to whatever days it is, 5 days a week, 2 weeks, just be in the nature. Open ocean. I was in Vietnam on one of these boats and I made a wrong turn. I flew off the jet ski in the middle of, we have the mountains around you and the deep water. My heart was pounding. It was just dark blue going down.
Yes.
And I just thought of sharks and big fish underneath me.
Yes.
Panic came up, but I survived. I got the other guy. He was knocked out a little bit. Luckily, we had the vests on, back on the speed thingy and back on shore. Air. I was in Austria and tandem. So I went with a guy, tandem with running down the hill.
Yeah.
In the air.
Yeah. Or air wings.
Yeah, what is it called? Yeah, not a parachute. Kind of like a parachute. Paragliding, yeah. That was also a challenge for me because whenever I'm in a high building, I look down, I feel like I need to jump. It's crazy. Like, what the fuck? But I also know I was in Romania and they had this zip line and like a little wagon. And so they were zipping out and then jumping down, bungee jumping in the middle of, I think I probably should do a bungee jump just to get this this fear out of my system.
Exactly. But what you're sharing right there, and thank you for sharing it, the thing is, that's what I'm talking about. Put yourself into an environment that you're challenging yourself and then see what comes of it. But
keep it safe, right? Keep it safe.
Absolutely. I'm all about training, then do it. You don't just go do it. That's not wisdom. That's foolishness. So I trained on that, walking on the Pacific Crest Trail. I walked to work, which was a mile and a half from my house to where I worked, with a backpack with 60 pounds of sand in it for the 3 months prior to me walking, because I was going to be carrying that kind of weight and I was going to be walking. I had to average 16 miles a day to finish on time over the amount of time I wanted to go, where I was able to pre-set up food rationing places. And so practice, and then go for the challenge.
Yeah. By that, I was just thinking the Chilkoot Trail up in Yukon to Alaska to Yukon.
Yeah.
That was, I did 3 days. That's also nice nature. But I was with people. A lot of people.
And that's okay. If the moment calls for you because you need to find yourself for the center, go. But all those things that I did with Honor Bound Academy, we did it as a group. It's still just as effective.
It's like the Native American said, or the Indian. I don't know. African tribes have probably the same. Aborigines,
yes, they do.
Similar stuff.
African. Yeah, same.
It's all around the world. And the funny thing is, when you look into the depth, it's the same thing, just different. Mm-hmm. Now, once in our talk today, I was writing down, did you meet God in any of those things you did? Let's to transition here a little bit.
So here's the thing is, sobriety cannot be attained without, let me reword that. The 12-step program that I went through in order to get clean and sober requires you to do 12 steps, of which the first 3 are dealing with your concept of God. You found a power greater than yourself. If it's God of religion, that's fine. If it's the whatever, if it's this rock that's been passed down through the generations in your family, it can be the rock. It doesn't matter, but you have to believe in something greater than yourself or you can't get sober. It doesn't work. And so I was raised Roman Catholic. That's every Sunday, my family took me to church. I had to go. You live under my father's roof, you're going to church. That's just the way it is. Afterwards, I only been back to church for somebody else's occasions. And my belief in God is just that. It's an entity. It's a power. And when I'm troubled, I turn my will and my life over to it and get the hell out of the way and see what comes my way. So that's the answer to that is yes. And I had it from birth. It shifted and changed at various times. Into sobriety, it was called a power greater than myself.
Did you have an experience where you felt like I'm touched by God somehow?
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm
It's in the
guided by
book.
God?
Where's the book? Which book? That book. It's called The Well of the Pines. So I'm on that trip from the Pacific Crest Trail, and I run into snow. And I went late enough in the year, and I planned for everything that you plan for, what's going to go wrong. And I ended up getting at an altitude, and I couldn't go any farther because there was snow. And so I'm sitting there going, what am I supposed to do? And so a pine tree drops all of its snow, and it creates a well where at the base I could crawl down under in there. And I crawled down, and there was enough room for me to pull my backpack off. And I pulled out my little furnace, and I cooked a thing of brown rice. And I said, I looked at what are my options? What can I do? And I let it go because I can't go forward. So the deal was that the path that I went from Belden north was snow. But if I would have gone Belden south, there was no snow. So I'm sitting there, and I get this feeling, go south. Whoa, go south. I hadn't prepared. I didn't know what was there. I still had practice. The weight was the same. Everything was the same except for the direction, which means I had no visual. But I said, I'm going to turn it over. And I turned around, and I went the opposite direction and had success. And it was because I said, I don't know what to do. I turned my will and my life over to that greater thing, and I heard, go south. I heard and saw the sun. I saw warmth, and I saw these things, and I felt these things, and I knew. I finished my rice. I cleaned up. I repacked. I got up out of the snow and walked the other direction for days, and ended up successfully navigating and never forgetting, because that I told in the story in that one.
Yeah. In your first 58 years of life story. Mm-hmm. Wow. I asked this question because I thought of your suicide period, the 2-3 weeks you had. Because I was also thinking, okay, when I re-listened to the episode to edit, now you got the like the marijuana, which was much stronger than what you were used to 32 years ago. Yep. If that actually opened up certain darkness, certain shadows of you that you suppressed and didn't really work, and they surfaced, and that was causing kind of like the depression, the suicide thoughts, the darkness.
No. What was troubling was I actually heard voices. As a therapist, that's schizophrenia. I know what that is. And I've never experienced voices. But, that 2-week period, I smoked on more than one occasion. And on every occasion, I'm hearing voices. I'm hearing my thoughts. I'm hearing them. And I'm like, there's something seriously wrong with this. And it was that at the end of the 2 weeks, when my brothers came and said, enough of this, you either quit and come with us, or you stay the line and don't come near us. And I was like, I need out of this because I can't, this is overwhelming. It wasn't about memories. It wasn't about darkness. It was about voices. And that's what
did they say?
They at this point, I don't remember the specifics. I just remember hearing voices talking. And it was disconcerting to hear something that it's not me thinking. It's not me talking to myself. It's voices talking. And I'm like, where's this coming from? So specifically, I don't remember. That was 5.5 years ago. that point I don't want to relive it. I came to terms with it. Life has gotten so much better. I found different types of rebalancing. But the answer is, for me, the suicidal ideation came because of voices, and they were negative. They were not pretty. That much I remember. And they wouldn't stop. And so I was devastated with it.
Okay. I've heard enough podcasts and interviews with people. When they start hearing voices, it is startling, and they thought like they're schizophrenia until they realize this is like from another realm.
Yeah.
And so my friend from South Africa, he also said, because he saw reality, he saw how it's made of. And from friends, he also was, due to these YouTube videos that show up for him, he realized plant medicine can be a very dangerous thing. And that's also what my yoga teacher says. Plant medicine, ayahuasca, San Pedro, mushrooms, etc. They can help you to a certain degree.
Right.
But if you do not do the work, if you don't do these rituals, if you do not grow up, if you don't have the rite of passage, they block you. There's only as far as you can go with those plants. And when I look in this spiritual world, and I think it's like spiritual bypassing. Look at us. We have millions of followers. Look at what we do. And this God has talked to us, and this God has talked to us, and look what we do. Talking to other people. Wow, I start to see the pattern. It's like a firewall. So you take these drugs, and the natives used them, right? Mm-hmm. Ayahuasca, San Pedro, mushrooms, frogs. I also had one ayahuasca, but I didn't get much out of it. Besides that, my body just moved alone, and I was observing my body, and I was observing myself talking. And that's why I also tried it. I told you in the last episode, I said, hey, let's smoke a joint, and let's try to use it as a meditation, see if I get some more insights. And it was really terrible. I didn't hear voices. I just felt terrible. So I know this is not my path, because I have to do the work. Like, do the work is meditate, stillness, go inside yourself, connect with yourself. And eventually you start feeling the vibration. I don't know if you have any meditation practices or anything else, but 4 years ago, I started really vibrating, and my stupid alarm went off. So I went out of it, and I wasn't able to get there. This is kind of like the start. You vibrate more, you feel it, and eventually get this insight hits. You start to see altered consciousnesses without using any substance. And that's why I asked you, did you see God? But now you said it. You hear those voices. They were negative. They were pulling you down. And they were not your own. And some people say our thoughts are not our own. It's just the vibration we're in, what heart space we're in. So more type of thoughts come to our mind.
Right. Yeah. The spirituality that you're talking about, I mean, I read on that. That's not my path. But from a clinical standpoint, I understand ayahuasca, and I understand the thing with it is there's what ibogaine, and then they're now releasing for therapeutic tests ketamine. And so from a clinical standpoint, the requirement is you do it with somebody, a psychologist that's trained, and you're being guided through this. So my experience with mushrooms when I was a kid, 17 years old, I remember doing mushrooms. They were fun. I loved it. But I was 17 years old, and it was, I remember being out. We did it in nature on a beach, and it was a good experience. That experience is a memory, but it's not a desire to redo. Now, the marijuana that I smoked as a kid, you know what? Maybe THC levels of 5 or 10%. Today's is literally 100%. And it's not fun anymore. It was a social thing at 5 to 10%. Everybody was doing it. This was in the 1970s. And we were listening to Led Zeppelin and smoking weed, and everybody was getting along, and it was enjoyable. That is in my past, because what I smoked for 2 weeks is not that memory. And so I'm here probably the same. Well, the only thing is different is the marijuana's THC level. And it makes all the difference to my desire to follow that. I like the chakras and listening to, oils, the essentials. Yeah, that's interesting reading. I like that. But it's not like mind altering. That I'm not looking for.
Okay, so that's good. It's like I say, for me, it's all intellectual. I'm looking for the experience somehow because they say, okay, I understand all these things, but I don't have the experience in my life. So now for you, when I see the Buddha figure in the background with the chakra sign, so what did bring you there to be interested in reading about the oils, as you say, about the chakras? What happened?
This is that stage in my life where I get to, as a clinical therapist, go off the reservation. I can pursue other knowledge bases. Esoteric, we have ancient knowledge that is no longer taught, is no longer even acknowledged. But if you are curious, it's out there for you to find. I liked, Edgar Cayce was called the sleeping prophet. And he was able to tap into the Akashic records. Now, the Akashic records supposedly has everything we have ever been in all of our lives from because it's eternal, there's no past or future. It all happens right here. And all of what we are is in this record. And he was able to tap into it. I find that fascinating. So I read up on Edgar Cayce. I looked at the Akashic. I tried doing some of the exercises. No luck. But go ahead.
When did you start it? Like now that you're pensioned, or
last year and a half, 2 years at this stage, because I'm done professionally. I can now legitimately pursue my own curiosity.
Okay, so take it easy.
Yeah.
I'm doing these things for 10 years and I don't have the experience. But we all on our speed and all, like you said, we all on our path. Yeah. And these things, I had friends and they, by their own inner guidance, just plucked themselves out of society for a week or two and had this revelation of seeing themselves in how they interact with their spouse, how they interact with their kids, and the traumas, the problems, the patterns. I'm like, wow. And they are nothing to do with spirituality. They don't read Edgar Tolle, The Power of Now, or any of these things. And then I talk to them like, wow, how did you do that? I don't know. I just felt to do it. I'm like, okay, you have problems with your family, do this and this, a family reading where people are standing in for the family. And he was like calling me back, wow, this was so eye-opening. You have to do that. Did you ever do that? I'm like, no, I haven't found anyone. But it was just the right intuitive thing I said. I know so many different things. I just said family reading. And he did it. And he said it helped with so many dynamics in the family because he did it. And he understands where his wife comes from, where his kids. And the whole energy has changed. So there is something. And other friends, it's just like I told Colin, he's 50, 51. And during COVID, no work in Africa, right? Like COVID, you're home. And he started meditating, went on Spotify or something and got one of these NASA FBI files, meditation, and boom, after 3-4 weeks, it just out-of-body experiences, realities. He went down the path. And others do it 30 years, like Buddhists. They're meditating on a mountain for 30 years and nothing happens.
Yes.
So you cannot predict what comes, but you feel guided. You have the feeling like now I have the time to pursue some other things.
Yes. And then let your curiosity take you.
Yeah. So you're mentally aware of these things, but they come suddenly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we went pretty far and about. Did I forget anything you wanted to share? We didn't talk about?
You know what? We ended up in places I didn't anticipate. This was the one that we came back to just let it flow. And I am right now actually at ease and comfortable and grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, it was almost twice as long as the other one.
Yeah.
Look, almost 2 hours. And you said, I'm looking for something. And I told you at the other episode, no, I don't know. I'm just curious and I'm just following the breadcrumbs.
Yes.
And thank you so much for your time. And it's dark here, completely dark. I started with sunlight in the back.
I'm just at noontime, 12:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I'll go walking with the dog now in the darkness, but I'm at a time where every week it's like 15 to 20 minutes earlier dark. It's so, for me, that's the sad part. I like long days. You said you love autumn.
I like short days. Yes, I'm the opposite.
Darkness can be nice.
Yeah.
But I think that's my teacher. If we go to the spiritual, being alone in the dark, it's very hard for me.
Okay.
Being from my hometown in Basel, there's a lot of distractions, right? You can go out, and so it's a teacher as well.
Yeah. And it's where I operate, nighttime.
Are you like a vampire or something?
No,
I didn't realize.
Not that one.
But thank you so much.
Yeah.
And again, for the listeners, share, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want, so we know if we hit the button for you and it made a change in your life.
Yeah.
It's always nice for us to know that we actually make a difference.
Yep.
That's why we do these things. And I somehow feel driven to continue. Yeah.
All right.
And where can people find you, the special welfare or warfare and...
Yeah, if you go to Honorbound Academy, that website still holds all of my platforms. So you go thehonorboundacademy.org, all one word, and put the in front of honorboundacademy.org, and everything is there. Everything, including the icons to go to the various platforms to see that everything's interconnected. You can find me, the book, the story, Honorbound Academy, all the information, all the knowledge. And if you want to leave some notes or thoughts, there's an opportunity for you to do that too. Thank you.
Yeah. And you have a page with all the different podcast episodes you're on. And that was my first research on you for the last episode, to kind of get a feeling, what is this Tom guy?
And we had 2 opportunities to find that out. So thank you for both.
Yes. And again, in the other episodes, you talk a little bit different. You take it from a different angle. Yeah. You add a little bit of information because you're 66. You had a lot of experience.
Thank you.
We cannot share that in 3 hours.
No, but we did the best we can. So thank you very much. All right.
So thank you with that, and have a good night.